Hello, and welcome to The Quest for Games. I'm Jerry, and in this video, I'm going to do a holiday themed. These are the games my family and I play through the holidays. Oh, wait a minute. There. That feels better. Now I'm ready for the holidays. I'm going to go through the games that my family and I play for the holidays. I'll do it again, similar to the way I did the Halloween ones, in player count order and not in this is the best to this is the least favorite, just player counts. So with that said, let's go start looking at the games. Okay, so I'm going to go start with the ones that are a little bit of a cheat first, and then I'll get into the truly holiday themed games. And what I mean by kind of a cheat are these are games that we play year round, but we have special expansions that will add to the game for the holidays. Unstable Unicorns is a game by Unstable Games. The game, you basically have a hand of unicorns. You're trying to build a stable of unicorns in front of you. The unicorns allow you to do things against each other, so there's a little bit of a take that. But the basic idea is that you're trying to build a stable of unicorns. You have a baby unicorn that does something for you, but you're trying to build a stable of unicorns. I probably should do a how to play on Unstable Unicorns by itself, but card game that's pretty simple to play, that'll play 2 to 8 people. This is what a normal game of Unstable Unicorns might look like in the middle of playing. You are trying to get 7 unicorns in your stable. Each of the unicorns have some kind of a special ability, like that one, which is the annoying flying unicorn. When you put it in your stable, your opponent has to remove 1 unicorn from their stable. There are also magic cards like this one, which lets you sacrifice 1 card and then destroy 2. And there's the Nay, which is out there that says, no, I'm not going to let you do whatever the mean thing was that you were trying to do to me. So what gets added in the Christmas edition is your unicorns have differing names that are kind of funny, like Mariah Carey Corn and the Not So Secret Santa Corn. And the Not So Secret Santa Corn, if you can see its ability, is you get to look at 2 cards and you wind up having to give one of the cards to some other player. So you're gifting something. And the Nay card has been changed to Jingle All the Nay to give it that holiday feel. As I was saying, it's basically Unstable Unicorns, but we can add a Christmas special expansion pack to it that gives some of the cards a more of a holiday flair. The next one I have is another one from Unstable Games called I'm Just Here to Slay. They're the same people who did Unstable Unicorns. I'm Just Here to Slay is a game we play year round. It's a 2 to 6 player game, but we've actually been able to play it at more than 6 players. The basic idea is you're trying to put a party together of each type, each class of character. And if you, the first one to do that, or if you slay 3 of the monsters in the middle, then you've won the game. There's an expansion called I'm Just Here to Slay, as in sled, that changes the game a little bit for the holidays. The first thing that it does to the game is it gives you a little overlay, which I'll show you when I get it to the table. It gives you an overlay which changes the power of your leader to be something to do with a gift exchange. And then it adds good and bad gifts as cards to the game, that you're now trying to get 3 good gifts. So you now have a new win condition, 3 good gifts, slay the 3 monsters, or have your party filled out. The 3 good gifts, there's bad gifts and good gifts in there. So your powers are now exchanging those gifts around somehow with somebody else by doing something. One of my complaints about this expansion is that with this, it only gives you 4 overlays. So you're now only able to play with 4 people. You can't play with the 6 or 8. So you either have to buy 2 of these to be able to play with more, and then you don't get different powers for each person, or you're basically relegated to playing with 4 people for the holiday edition. Here's what a typical game of I'm Just Here to Slay might look like set up on a table. The idea is you're trying to build out your party of adventurers and trying to slay monsters. The first person to have one of each type of adventure in their party or to slay 3 monsters is the winner. Christmas edition of I'm Just Here to Slay does is it adds these sleeves over top of the card to give them a holiday flair, and then it changes their abilities. They'll say something about gifts. So in this particular one, it says every time you roll a 3 or less without a modifier, you get to spend one of your action points to get a gift or exchange a gift. And so it adds a new feature to the game where you're trying to exchange gifts with each other. Some of the gifts that you can exchange are good gifts, and some of the gifts are bad gifts. They add a checklist to the game for you to be able to track and check different things off of your list, off of your holiday list. There's the good gifts and there's bad gifts. It adds a new way to win the game, which is to have 3 good gifts. So you can win the game by the normal rules, which is defeat 3 monsters or fill your whole party out. Or now we've added into it that I can now also get gifts, and if I have 3 good gifts, I can win the game with the 3 good gifts. It does give you that whole take that kind of a thing, so I can give bad gifts and I can exchange gifts around. I could re-gift one of my bad ones to somebody else, or I could see somebody's got a good gift and I could exchange my bad gift with their good gift. My next one is Frosty the Snowman. It's follow the leader card game. It's for 2 to 4 players, and the ages on it is 4 and up, which I think is right. It's fun for the younger kids. Once you get older kids, it's a little bit too easy for the older kids. The idea is that you have a line of children that are in a parade following Frosty, and you're trying to use cards to manipulate where those children are in the parade line to get them to match the parade line that they're instructed to have. So it plays pretty quick, which is good for the younger kids. This is Frosty the Snowman set up for a 2-player game. There's a parade order that you have to try to get the children in the parade behind Frosty. Each person gets a number of cards, 3 on a 2-player game. So how this works is on your turn, you could play this card, let's say, which would allow you to take this character and move them up 1. And now we see that the green character, the green boy, needs to be in position 1. And you would get another card for that. The other thing that you could do is you can exchange 2 if you have the 2. So 2 people playing together could exchange 2 people. So I could play the blue boy and somebody could play the pink girl, and that would swap these 2. Now, based on that, I have the blue boy 1 spot away, and I have the pink girl in the right place. And each person would get another card, right? And then I could say, oh, I'm going to use my rabbit to take the yellow person and move them all the way up to here. Now I have 1, 2, 3 in the correct orders. I need to move 5 all the way to the back and 4 up 1. Well, we have 4s, so you could use the red girl to move the red girl up 1, which would move this one back 1. And then there's the purple boy, so I've played a purple boy, and I could move the purple boy back 1, and now I have them in the right sequence. Now, realize that I'm playing both sides of this. So the hands are supposed to be open, but I'm playing both sides of this. I basically alpha gamered that. But that's the idea. That's what you're trying to do. We've got that sequence together. I can go try to, this one's done, this one's successful. Now I have to try to do the next one. And I have this pile of cards to get through to try to get them all in their right sequence. So it is a 2 to 4 player game, and it is from ages 4 and up. So it's a little simple, but it's still fun to play with younger kids. The next one I have is The Muppets Christmas Carol Spirit of Giving. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It says ages 7 and up. I think I've played it with a little bit younger than that, but not much. The idea of the game is you'll have 3 cards in front of each person, and there's a set of gifts in the middle. And you're trying to get the 3 cards in front of you or in front of someone else to match. Once you get all 3 of them to match, they get to take a gift out of the center. If you got somebody else's to match, you get to take 2 gifts out of the center, look at the gifts, decide which one you want to keep, and then give the other one to the other player. So there's the spirit of giving, and kind of adds in that holiday feel of giving things. So you'll understand that a little bit better. I'm going to get it to the table here right now. So this is what the Muppets Christmas Carol would look like set up on your table. There's one other setup thing that I need to show you. About every quarter of the way through the deck, you'll start with a Scrooge on the top, and then you'll get the Ghost of Christmas Past, and then you'll get the Christmas Present and the Christmas Future. Those will be in the deck. And what they'll tell you is each one of them has you do a different thing. And at one point in time during the game, you'll have all 4 of those out, which will have you allowing you to do any one of these things. So this one is it would be set off to the side, and it'd say, you're gonna draw the top of the deck and replace any card. So you draw the card on the top of the deck, you look at it and you say, well, which card might I want to replace with this? Well, I don't see any cards up that I think are good replacements for this. So I'm just going to replace this one. And this goes into a discard pile. At some point in time, you'll have gotten through cards and you'll get the past out. And now it says, take the top card from the discard pile and be able to place that somewhere. So, and the idea here is to try to get 3 cards. You should know what this one is because you looked at it. To try to get 3 cards that match. So as you're going through the deck, you're swapping out cards, you're looking at the card in the discard pile, and you're trying to see if I can find a card in the discard pile that might match. So maybe I would take this one, put it here, right? So now I have that match. You'll keep going through that. I'm going to speed this up quite a bit. Because then now we have the present out, which I don't think this is all going to fit on camera. But you have the past, you have the Scrooge, you have the past and the present out. And the present saying I can swap any 2 cards. Or I could on my turn take the top card off the discard pile. If I took the top card off the discard pile, I could take that, put it here. It's wild. These 3 now match. I get to take a present. I get to see the value on the bottom, and I hold that present as my own. Let's say, though, instead of doing that, I knew what this card was, which it's a Kermit. I put the Wild over here and replaced this card. Now I've matched these 3 because of the Wild and these 2. They have the same people on them. How you know when the game is over is all these presents will be gone. And then everybody totals up what their value was of the presents, and the person who had the most points for the presents wins, which is one of the strategies there of why I may want to go and finish somebody else's hand before I finish my own, because I get to pick 2 presents and take the higher number for myself. I now get to take 2 presents out of the middle, look at both values, and say, oh, well, they're the same, but I'm going to give 1 to them and I'm going to keep 1 myself. You go through and keep doing that, trying to match colors. So I was matching people in both cases, but you can do it by matching colors. So if I had this here and I drew this from the deck, I'm now matching colors, so that matches. The next one I have is a Mickey's Christmas Carol. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It says ages 4 and up. I think that's pretty accurate. I played it with the younger grandchildren. Basic gameplay is you have up to 4 puzzles, which are made up of 6 tiles, so they're not real puzzles. And you have a bag with all the pieces of the puzzles and some extra pieces in it. And then there's a clock in the middle of the table. You can pull up to 5 pieces out of the bag, but there's a risk versus reward mechanism there. The more pieces you pull out, the more of a chance you have of one of the special tiles that make the clock move forward. You're trying to get 2, 3, or 4, depending upon the level of game you want to play, pictures completed before the clock gets around to midnight and Ebenezer Scrooge, Doc, wakes up. This is Mickey's Christmas Carol set up on the table. It's set up with 3 pictures or puzzles. And as I was saying, the pictures are, the tiles that are in here are just, they're squares. They're not, it's not puzzle pieces. So me saying puzzles is giving it too much. You'll put all the pieces into the bag and then you're drawing cards out of the bag and you can draw as many as 5. So I've drawn 1 of, this is 1, 2, and 3. So this is the one we want to finish first. I've drawn 2 from 1. I've drawn 1 from 2. I can only choose 2 tiles to play, so I would stop there and say I'm going to play these 2 tiles and put them into this puzzle and then put that tile back into the bag. But I could have also kept drawing for 5 tiles. There are tiles in here and I'm trying to find one. This one here says ignore all special tiles this turn and return them to the bag. So if I drew that, I'd leave it out for the rest of my turn and I would ignore any other ones that came out of the bag. If this one is the one that I pulled out though, it says move Scrooge 1 and play all the other tiles. So I'd have to move Scrooge up 1 and then play all the other tiles that I pulled out, which might mean that I'm finishing a puzzle before I want to, or it may be a good thing. And I just had to move Scrooge 1 space. At the end of each person, when I drew these 2 purple and played these 2 purple, I needed to move Scrooge 1 space. So you're seeing that Scrooge is moving around and you're trying to get these finished before Scrooge gets to the awake. Once I finish a puzzle, he's number 1, I would get, if I finish the purple puzzle, I get to move him back 1 space. You have a limited number of turns to finish the pictures before Scrooge makes his way all the way around, because like I said, every time you take your turn and place the 2 tiles, you have to move Scrooge 1. If I finished the 2 picture before I finished 1, Scrooge would move up 2. And there are more pictures than just this to make the game a little bit more difficult. You do have pictures that are a 4, a 5, and a 6. So you could play with the 4, 5, or 6 ones in here, and if you finish the 6 first, Scrooge would have to move up 6 spaces first. It's a simple game, fun for kids. Like I said during the video, the rules say ages 4 and up, and I think that's probably pretty accurate. But that is Mickey's Christmas Carol. The next one I have is Peanuts, Charlie Brown's Trim the Christmas Tree. It's for ages 5 and up, and that may be okay. Younger than that may have some dexterity problems with this. 1 to 5 players. I don't know why they stopped it at 5. Basically what you have is this plastic Christmas tree that you're trying to put ornaments on it. There's 1 ornament on the top of it. You're trying to hang ornaments on the tree in a way that you don't knock the starting ornament off. You can play it cooperatively. I guess it's kind of the way it's meant to play, because you basically count how many ornaments you got on there, and the more ornaments that you got on, the better you did, which is why a 1-player game is possible, because you're just trying to hang ornaments on this tree and get as many as you can. So this is Charlie Brown's Trim the Tree. And as you can see, it looks like Charlie Brown's tree. It is a rubber, kind of flimsy tree. Each person on their turn rolls this dice, and it says, this one says I have to place an ornament on the top, or on the bottom, or in the middle. That's what's on the dice. So it's telling me I have to take an ornament and hang it on the top of the tree. The next one I rolled said middle, so I have to take an ornament and hang it in the middle. So you're going around hanging the little ornaments on the tree in different ways and in different locations. As the dice tells you, you have to put them, and I'm putting them all there, but you can put them up in the branches too. So, and the objective is to try to get as many ornaments on the tree without making that little red ornament on the top fall off. Oh, that ornament fell off, so we'd have to pick it up and do it again. Next turn, whoever rolled that would, could use that. There are these 3 special ones that you can use as a mulligan like thing to say, oh no, I don't think there's any way I can hang another one on the top. Let's just say I rolled. So if you rolled a top like I just rolled, I rolled a top. And you could say, oh no, I don't think I'm going to get another one on the top without it falling over. So I could take one of these special star ones, I would refer to them as mulligan ones, and I can hang it anywhere I want to. So I could hang that on the low. And then somebody else rolls, okay, this one's supposed to be hanging in the middle. We're fast approaching something that's not going to work, right? Hang this one up on the top again. I keep getting top. And I'm afraid, oh, that's stuck. So there you go. Middle, I don't know that I want to keep doing this, but oh, there it fell. Okay, so that's the idea. You keep putting ornaments on the tree until something falls off. Then you count how many ornaments you got onto the tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if he counts. So let's say I got 8 on there, and there's a chart in the rule book that says based on how many you got, how good did you do. So based on this chart, I'm good grief. 0 to 9 is good grief. So there you go. It really becomes fun and raucous as you're hanging things up there, and people are like, oh no, I don't know, where am I going to hang this? How can I hang this? And it's about ready to fall over. But anyway, that's Peanuts, Charlie Brown, Trim the Tree. The next one I have is 12 Days. It's based on the 12 Days of Christmas song. It's a 3 to 5 player, and it says 8 and up, and I don't know. I think I've played with a little bit younger than 8, but that might be pretty fair. The way the game plays is it plays in 12 rounds. There are 12 day cards that are in the middle of the table. Everybody has a hand of cards, and you're trying to play cards out of your hand. That's the lowest number. Person who plays the lowest number out of their hand wins that day and gets that many points. But the side to that is that you also have to pass one of your cards to the left, and at the end of the game, when you're all done and we're doing scoring, you score the day cards that you got for each one of the rounds when you're doing the trick taking kind of a game. You also score the person who has the most 12s gets 12 points. The person who has the most 11s gets 11 points. And so keeping some of those higher numbered cards instead of passing them around is advantageous, and there's different strategies to play. I've seen some people win by never winning any one of the tricks during the regular part of the game, but having the 12, 11, and 10s, most of 12, 11, and 10s in their hands, and had enough points to be able to win the whole game. So it's a very fun, strategic little game, 12 days. This is something of what 12 days would look like set up. Each person has their own hand. Their hands would be hidden from everybody else. And the first thing that you would try to do is you would say, okay, we're on day 1. Everybody play a card. This person played a 5. This person played a 9. This person played, let's try not to do that. This person played an 8. the person with the 5 wins, and they get the card. If they would have been the 5, then nobody won that day, and that day would go to the side, and whoever won 2 would get 1 and 2. But in this case, the person with the 5 won, so they get that card. They get to keep that day 1 card. So that's the first day. And at the end of the first day, everybody has to take 1 card from their hand and pass it to their left. So everybody's taken 1 card from their hand and passed it to the left. Now we do the same thing again. This person plays a 0, they play the 4 they just got, they play a 5. The 0 wins, but because it's Santa Claus, it's got special rules. Santa Claus won't take the gift themselves. They have to give the gift. So they have to give this day 2 card to one of the other players. And then we would all pass a card to the left again. And you would continue to keep playing that way until all the day cards are gone. At the end of the 12 days, all those day cards have been given out to the right people. Then you go through and say, okay, who's got the most 12s? Well, this person has 112, this person has 112. So they both had 12s, they both get 12 points. Then you go through 11s and 10s and 9s and so on. And the person who has the most of those cards in their hand gets those amount of points. Ties, both people get the points. You add those points up with the day card points that you got, and the person with the most points at the end of the game wins. So there is some strategy in here about what cards do I want to pass. You would think in the beginning that I want to pass all my high cards because I want to get rid of the high cards because low cards win my days. But I have seen a few games where somebody had all the 12, 11, and 10s and have gotten maybe 1 or 2 of the day cards, and they've won the game because they had the 33 points from the 12, 11, 10s, and then maybe 1 or 2 days. Like I said, there's some strategy to the game. It's a really fun game to play, but that is 12 days. The next one that I have is Santa's Workshop. It's fast becoming one of our favorite games. We just got it this year, but it's still one of our favorites already. Santa's Workshop is by Elf Creek Games. It's a 2 to 5 player game. It's a worker placement game where you're using elves to try to build toys, to trim trees, and to tend to the reindeers. There are 2 modes in the box. One mode is what they call the standard game, which is a pretty simplistic worker placement game with the trimming of the tree and that. And the game says 6 and up, and I think that's right for that standard game. Then there's a advanced rules where you now have coal involved and some other pieces that make the game a little bit more complicated. The tree goes the opposite direction. I'm going to try to do a full teach of this here in one of my next videos, but it's a fun game to play. Let me show you closer what this looks like. This is the standard side of Santa's Workshop's board. The back side has an advanced version of the game. In this one, if I was going to finish the setup, which I think I'm just going to do a full teach of it, so I'm not going to do all that, but I put all the ornaments in here, and we would have plans and steel, wood, and fabric. You'd have reindeer here, and you'd have the kids' requests for their toys are all played out in here, so that you would have their toy requests. Their toy requests are cards that look like this, which this one has, they're looking for a ring toss, and it's 1 plan, 2 wood, and 1 metal to make the ring toss. You would have to put your workers on the metal to get the 1 metal you need, and then maybe eventually this would give you 2 metal, this would give you 2 wood. Getting the 2 metal, if I didn't have another plan, I'd have to put 1 of the metal up in the regifting area. This is the player board for the standard side, standard game. You would take ornaments from here and put them on your tree, and you would get whatever the value of whatever is on the space on the tree, plus the value that's on the back of the ornament. You play it starting on December 19th through to December 24th, trying to build as many toys as you can. The toys that you've built go into the sleigh. Like I said, I'll do a full playthrough, but it's a pretty standard worker placement for this part of the game. There are the only one person can go into this space and they get 2 wood. When you put a second person here, they get 3 wood, but this person gets 1 victory point because they're helping them, and that's why they get the 3rd wood. If you put another person there, now this person gets 4 wood, and these 2 people both get a victory point for helping the person get the additional wood. And there's the victory point track around the outside to keep track of how many victory points you have. So it's a Euro worker placement, resource gathering. That's Santa's Workshop. The next one I have here is Clue the Grinch. It's for 8 and up, and that's probably pretty good. You may get away with a little younger, but maybe not. 2 to 6 players. And you're going to look at this and say, it's Clue, it's just Clue. Well, that's true, but this Clue the Grinch one has some mechanics that I'm not familiar with in any other Clue game. They may be available in other versions of Clue, but I've never seen them. So, what they've changed in Clue the Grinch is it's the normal Clue game, who, what, where, and in this case it's who saw the Grinch, where did they see him, and what did he have. But on top of that, there are now these question mark spots on the board that when you land on one of those, you get to draw a card from just a little bit more deck. And that just a little bit more deck can do things like makes it so that you can move to any square you want to. And that card you can hold and play at any time. And then you get to just move to that square, whatever square it is. There's also 9 Grinches in that deck of just a little bit more cards. And if you turn over the 9th Grinch, the game's over. Nobody's solving the mystery. It doesn't matter. The game's over. Everybody loses. And the Grinch Stole Christmas and all the Who's down in Whoville are all sad. There's also player powers. So Papa Who, instead of just being Mr. Green, there's Papa Who. And Papa Who is got the power that once per game, he can say, I want to look at that card that somebody else just showed. So if there was a Inquisition that happened, and it was between 2 other people, not the person playing Papa Who, and they say, oh, wait a minute, I want to see that card. Once per game, they can go in and see what was shown to the other person and get that extra card. There's other powers like that. Each person has their own little power. So that makes it so that while you're picking characters, it's a little different. Which character do I want to pick? What special power do I have? And you wind up with this little bit of a, I don't know if I want to go land on that square. I know those cards are nice in just a little bit more, but I don't know if I want to land on it or if I want to pick another card because I may get the last Grinch. So that adds to the game for us. And to be honest, I don't think we played the other clues during the year, but we will play this one during the holidays. The next one I have is Christmas Lights. It's a card game. 2 to 6 players, 6 and up. And I think that 6 is probably pretty good. The objective of this game is to have a string of 5 lights that match a pattern, and then connector and 5 more lights that match a pattern. You're given 2 gold cards at the beginning of the game. That's the patterns you have to have. 2 strings of lights with those patterns on. One of the interesting things about the way this game's played, though, is that you have your hand of cards, but you're looking at the back of the cards. Everybody else is looking at the front of your cards. And on your turn, you get to do a couple of different things, like swap a card. So you can take a card from somebody else's hand and put it into your hand. Now you know what that one is. Take a card from your hand and put it into their hand. And now you know what you just gave away, and they know what they just got. So that's how you're trying to understand what are the cards that are in my hand by swapping them. You can sell them, put a card down and sell it. There are different mechanics like that, and I'll get into that when I show the game on the table here. You don't know your hand at the beginning, and you have to do things, swapping cards with other people, selling a card and getting a card from the deck, things like that, to try to understand what your cards are, so that when you go to play one, so that you're getting the right cards in the right sequence. Let me take this to the table and maybe I can do a better job of explaining how it actually plays. So this is Holiday Lights kind of set up. You actually wouldn't know what these cards are because you would be holding them with their backs to you. These would be flipped over. There's the two patterns you need to get. And they would be flipped over so that nobody else could see them. You would just have to know. Once you have the pattern down in front of you, you would then flip the one over and say, I've finished my first pattern, and people would check it and say, yes, you did finish your first pattern. On your turn, the things that you can do is you can swap a card, one card with a card in your opponent's hand. So I don't know what any of these are, so I'm going to go swap this one with this one. And I now got a yellow card because I know I need a yellow card here. So I know this one's now yellow. I can hold it in my hand sideways, or I can do whatever I want to try to mark that I know what that one is. Let's say it's now back to me and it's my turn again. Another thing I can do is I can play a card. I can play it blindly, which is what I'd be doing right now. And I'm trying to see if it matches my order. Oh, it's a broken one. So broken ones are okay. I can put a broken one down there. I could say that's a green one. Or I could flip this around and say I'm going to do the red one first, or I'm going to do my pink one first, or flip it around and say I'm going to do my blue one, whichever. But a broken one is okay. I've gotten a broken one down there. It just means I have to replace it with, let's just say I have to replace it with my green one later on. But I can play a card. Something bad could have happened with me playing that card. I tried to play this yellow, let's say it was a yellow one I was trying to play. It wouldn't match, so I'd have to say, oh, it didn't work in my sequence. I basically have to throw that one away. At the end of my turn, I would have been refilling, so I always have to have 5 cards in my hand. There we go. That's lucky. I could also have randomly decided I was going to play a card down, and it happened to be, oh, draw an event card. Well, then I draw the top event card, Power Surge. The active player, which is me, ends their turn immediately, so I'm done. Which is fine. I think I would have done that anyway. I guess it's possible that I could have gotten, there's the light switch. If I had gotten the light switch, everybody would have had to change their hands around, pass their hands around. Third thing you can do is a sell. So the way a sell works is you take the top card off of the deck, you take a card out of your hand, and you put them down, and you say, I want to take one of those. Well, in this particular case, I don't have anything I can use with that pink one. Oh, maybe I do. I could say I'm working on this one. Nobody knows what I was working on. I could take the pink one and I could overlay my broken bulb, and I now have the start and I'm good. But there's other things that could happen. Let's just say I didn't want that pink one. I don't want any of those. I could then say, hey, I want to trade you. You can take either one of these two for that card in your hand. If you give me that card, I'll give you whichever one of these you want. And maybe that player wants it, and that would give me the green card that would fit into my pattern. Or if the person says no, they don't want to do that, then you can also trade what they call trade for information. So you can say, okay, then I'll trade either one of these 2 cards to you if you tell me what color this card is. And if they decide to do that, you now know what color this is. They can take one of these cards and the other card's discarded. If all of that fails and this wasn't a card you wanted, you would have to just act like you were going to play it. You can't play it, so you'd wind up discarding it just the same as a normal play a card from my hand. That's the way this is played. Another thing that's nice about this deck is it came with this set of bonus games that you can play. There's 10 or 11 additional games in here that you can play using the cards that came with this deck. The next one I have is the Grinch's Family Bingo. It's basically bingo, 1 to 18 players. It says 8 and up, but I think we've been able to play with a lot younger than that. It's 18 players because there's 18 bingo cards at least in this box. You're flipping cards over that have the different characters from How the Grinch Stole Christmas on them with a different colored back. And you have to match that card with the one that's on your bingo card. and you're playing bingo, right? So rows or and full cards, whichever way you want to play it. Family likes it. And the last one I have here is called the Kringle Caper. The Kringle Caper is a new one for me. I haven't even opened it. I don't know how well it's going to play. I did get a deck of cards. It's called the Pumpkin Problem. That is a Halloween themed one by the same company. Basically, it's kind of a little escape room in a box. You saw that it's only that thick. There's probably only 20 cards in there, maybe 30, but you're you've got it's puzzles that you've got to get through. It starts out, there's a QR code on it. You scan that, and say something shows up on your phone. It'll tell you which card to turn over first. It'll start a story, and then you'll be turning over cards, trying to solve puzzles. There are mathy puzzles in there. There's some image kind of puzzles in there. In the pumpkin problem, we had to draw some lines. And once you were done drawing the lines and you looked at it at the right angle, you could see that it was saying a word. And you had to type that word into the phone, into your phone, into the app. And it would tell you, oh, yeah, you solved that puzzle. Here's the next couple of cards you got to go look at. So this one is the Christmas Caper. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm really looking forward to playing it with the family. They're probably one shots, but the game was less than $10 for the game. So that's the pile of holiday games that I have. I hope this has been informative for you. I hope you enjoy playing games with your family at the holidays. I hope you get to spend time with your family at the holidays here. If you've been with me through this whole video, I appreciate your time and sticking with me. If you could like the video, that would be helpful for me. If you could subscribe to my channel if you haven't, that also would be helpful for me. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.